Hello and welcome. Happy Wednesday. My name is Charvel. I'm your host. Happy to be back here. Missed you guys so much last week. But we have a great show for you today. This is going to be our last one for a little bit. We're going to go a little ghost, take a break. Can't believe the summer is over, but we made it. We survived. Congrats. Hope everybody is doing well. Like I said, my name is Charvel, class of 2013 at Emerson College. I graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism, and I've been an active member of the EBONI Alumni Association basically since I graduated, even before that. So I'm so excited to have been able to host these EBONI live chats with you over the summer, and I'm looking forward to continuing in the fall as we move forward. Today is a really special kind of finale, if you will. We have two social media mavens coming to the table. We have Amaani Lyle, and then we have Nyla Wissa. So we have kind of these different ends of the spectrum. Amaani was kind of the first pioneer in terms of a travel blogger. She's written for TV and film, military. She's just got this resume all over the place, but it's so beautiful to see how she's been able to use her talents in kind of every aspect of her career. And we have Nyla, who's a young alum, but has done so much in so little time. She's worked at BuzzFeed, and now she's over at Shondaland, where she runs the social media. And so we're going to talk a little bit about social media and the entertainment industry. We're going to talk about their times at Emerson, and we're going to talk about just the rapid changes that are going on every single day. So without further ado, let me bring the ladies up. Here we go. Welcome, Nyla. Hello. Thank you guys for taking some time to chat with me today. I know times are crazy, times are busy, so we really do appreciate you taking some time to chat with the Emerson alum. How is everybody feeling, first and foremost?
That's a layered question.
Yeah, we're all like onions right now. I feel like Shrek is like, and every moment is a different layer. But yeah, so anyways, let's start with you, Amaani, because you're, you went to Emerson before all of us. So how was Emerson when you were there? Obviously you went for film, and I believe you came from California. So you're kind of on the opposite spectrum of both Nyla and I are from the East Coast and went to Emerson.
Right.
So how was that for you?
It was interesting. I mean, I did what, most seniors do. I applied to a bunch of different schools, and I knew that I was interested in writing or doing something in a creative capacity. And I had not really considered going to the East Coast. I applied, on a long shot to like Harvard and places like that, just to be able to have bragging rights if I got in. But alas, they made it easy for me. I didn't get into Harvard. I did get into Berkeley, so I considered going there. But I remembered watching the show called Cheers, and I loved that show. And I was like, man, Boston seems so fun and so cool, and so something that's just not in my backyard. And right. the fact that I knew nobody there. I literally just liked the show, and I'd studied up a little bit on what Emerson had to offer for film and television. It made me all the more curious to get out there and just sort of have a blank canvas. So I just went out there, on a lark, and I have honestly made, some of the best friends of my life. I mean, I would say more friends than even networking opportunities, just people I've really, whose careers I've really, really admired. And people always talk about oh, the roommate from hell, or you always dread who you're going to get. I ended up having two roommates my freshman year, and I'm still very, very close to them. In fact, I just wrote the foreword on a book of poetry for one of my roommates. So Valerie Nafora, class of 95. She's getting all these awards now for her book, and she asked me to write the foreword for it. So I couldn't be happier for her. But yeah, that's how I ended up at Emerson, and it was just fantastic. I learned so much, and I was kind of toggling between film and television there. Mm-hmm. So it was just a really, really extraordinary experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
I love that. Yeah, definitely. Emerson, I feel like, well, and I hear this about college in general, but EBONI definitely was that family for me. Yeah. And those are still those relationships, like that are strongest within my life. Now, Nyla, you're from Boston, so I feel like you were an active with Emerson as a high school student, right? Am I remembering correctly? And that's kind of how you got in the.
So I went to Boston Arts Academy,
right.
and they have a partnership. I don't know if they still do, but at the time they had a partnership with Emerson. Emerson was actually my last choice. 100% transparent. And it's not because of the school. It's just because I grew up in Boston.
Right.
I wanted to go outside of state to go to school. I wanted that independence. I wanted that feeling. Also, I knew it was in downtown Boston, and I wanted kind of the traditional campus feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not going, and ended up getting in because I was super active with what Boston Arts Academy was doing with theater students at the school with Emerson. And it just kind of, it worked out the way that it was supposed to. My last choice ended up becoming my first choice. I don't think, looking back on it now, I wouldn't have gone anywhere else. I was able to study abroad, started Flawless Brown. I was able to do so many things that I don't think I would have gotten the same experience at any other university or college. So.
For sure. Yeah. And we feel like I did the same thing where I was not going to UConn. I'm from Connecticut, and I was like, absolutely not. And I didn't go. It's like, I also had never heard of Emerson. I just applied, and I was like, some people I know want to go, I guess. And then I got in, and I was like, okay, I guess. Like,
apparently it's a really great school.
I guess the marketing wasn't that great when we were going. But no, definitely no regrets. It's obviously created such this family environment now with EBONI, and it's just been so great to see the school grow and different opportunities and everybody that comes through. So I love that we have this kind of, the past and the present and the future here kind of represented. So Amaani, I'm trying to think where to even start, because I feel like you've had this career trajectory that's kind of all over the place. So let's start with exactly after you graduated Emerson, what happened next?
Well, I guess, for me, I was really eager to get in the business right away. So I was like, I'll go back and finish college later. I regret doing that because life happens and you don't really finish. But the time that I did have at Emerson was really great and a very effective launching point for me to get started back in Los Angeles. So going back, to my roots from there, it was easy. I wouldn't say easy, but I was able to get work fairly, quicker than I expected to. I put it that way. So I sent out, 100 resumes to all sorts of things, just trying to be an intern, be a gopher, be whatever, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I was, throwing my hat in the ring. Yeah. And I had done a couple of independent films. One of my first ones was Quentin Tarantino was in a film called Sleep With Me. So I had worked with him and Parker Posey and Eric Stoltz. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty good experience. A lot of long hours and, little more than sandwiches and gas money, but it was, a way to get my foot in the door. Mm-hmm. So I had done a couple other little projects here and there, but what really got me started, interestingly, in social media was America Online. So, there was, so AOL, when kids today will never understand plugging their phone in, and waiting for that 58 baud per second sign to come up. But that's what it was. When you had the CD, you had to put in your computer. Mm-hmm. And, when I started working with them, there were only 4 million people online, probably less than that. And I had gotten selected. I was one of 5 writers selected in a nationwide search to go across country and write with like 4 other strangers. So it was like The Real World meets a Jack Kerouac book or something. So it was very interesting. And there, I had never been, anywhere between LA and New York, even though I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota. I left there at a very young age. So I'd never really seen the rest of America, and boy, it's a trip, I tell you.
Yeah.
Coming back from there, I had worked on some TV shows, and then I'd gotten prior to that, I'd started working for Tim Conway Jr. on a show called Late Net. So I was one of the first like talk show producers on the internet, and I did not really have any idea what I was doing, but I was supposed to be booking talent and producing this show, and it worked. And in fact, Tim Jr. is still on the radio. Based on the show that he and I started together, and a couple other producers. So it's very cool to see that evolution and see something that's got, such enduring value and interest to people. And I worked from there, I met some producers who asked me if I wanted to go work at Nickelodeon. At the time, I didn't even have cable television, so I'd not really seen a lot of Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So like, sounds interesting. And, getting to work with Keenan and Kel and all
cool.
that. And, I tell people that now, and that I'd even made, cameo appearances on the show, and they are, their jaw just drops. So, and it's funny when, like I said, when I was working on the show, I had hardly got to see any of my work because I don't know why I didn't have cable. It was like, I'll see it at the set. I don't need to watch it on TV and be vain about it. So
you probably didn't have the time either. I imagine you were just going.
Yeah, at the time, it was pretty good money, and we all had a very familial environment, and it was a lot. It was like having a lot of little sisters and brothers, at that show, and obviously they've all gone on to wildly successful careers, especially Keenan. They all have, but I mean, Keenan has just gone into the stratosphere. So I'm just really, really proud of all of them. And it's nice to be able to keep up with them through social media channels. Obviously, after that, I had left Nickelodeon begrudgingly, but I would only leave Nickelodeon for a really good opportunity, and that opportunity was Friends. So I worked over there for 4 months, and to this day, I am still not sure of all the behind the scenes things that happen, but I know that the rigors of the writer room are there. It's strenuous, it's tough, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for any shrinking violets. I get that. A lot of long hours, 18, 20-hour days, and but it was something I put my heart and soul into. And the fact that it did not work out, and I wasn't at the time allowed to ask why. What happened. I don't know if they brought in friends of theirs to come take over, but we didn't. I was let go after 4 months, and I would have been the first African American woman to ever have, or actually African American person to ever have a creative credit on that show. So to have things cut short, at that critical time of my career is something, I'm not sure I ever understood. So, I mean, my case has become a sort of a landmark suit. And I think we have, gotten to a point in America now where, if the case had happened today with all the scrutiny via social media and all of the avenues and resources we have now for diversity, inclusion, uh, you know, respect and equality toward women, that was not something in very great abundance and in the writers' room at that time. So I think now there would have been a completely different outcome, and Marta Kaufman has actually expressed remorse that she didn't, publicly expressed remorse that she didn't do enough, to sort of even the playing field. And, I could, looking back, I can't help but agree. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, it's an ever evolving battle, and like you said, we probably haven't seen even the peak of it yet. And what I love is that Nyla also saw that within Emerson and created Flawless Brown. Nyla, will you talk a little bit about obviously I know a little bit, but what you were missing at Emerson and how you try to fill that gap and how it's still prospering today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, being raised in Dorchester, Massachusetts, going to a high school that was predominantly, Black POC, people growing up, people either looked like me or came from the same socioeconomic class as me. And so, going to Emerson, which is literally a 15-minute train ride away from my house, was a huge culture shock. Being the only Black girl in mostly all of my classes, but specifically in my major, which at the time was acting and then ended up becoming theater education with a concentration in acting, just feeling extremely isolated. And then, practicing your art, the aspect like that part of it, and not really feeling seen when it comes to roles, or when it even just like, not even just with M Stage, but also with, student run shows, having white students create and write monologues for you about what it means to be a Black girl. That's just not okay. And so there was that aspect, the artistic aspect, or the lack thereof, the feeling unseen just on the campus in general, where I was like, something is missing in my college experience. And, my dad, shout out to Eric Wissa, was like, either you can complain about it or you can do something about it. And so that's kind of where Flawless started. Flawless is theater, started off as theater, and now it's film, comedy, writing, literally everything. It's a student-run organization for women and self-identifying femmes of color. We started off in 2014 with about 5 girls in the cultural center. After a month of rehearsing, and I use that term loosely because we were still very much on book, we went up and it got great attention, it got great reception, and now it's grown with like different departments, I think that there may be about over 50 people in the organization now. So it's really flourished and really thrived, and also it's really grown more than I could have ever imagined, just with the help of other people who have kind of had the same feelings, but also the same vision of what they hope to leave their legacy at Emerson with.
Right.
It's just about creating a safe space for people who don't feel like they have it on the campus. So
for sure. And then so you talked about, your major, and I feel like this is something that happens to a lot of us, is like we don't really end up in the career that we are planning for at Emerson, or, we have to evolve. So let's talk a little bit about your evolution, because, obviously I was there. We worked at the Emerson LA building for a hot little second.
A good time. We had a great time.
Bye, I'm going to BuzzFeed. And I was like, okay. And then bye, I'm going to Shondaland.
Okay. Don't gas me yet.
But, where credit is due, credit is due. So talk about your evolution a little bit, and how you had to adapt, and, the ups and downs of adapting, basically.
Yeah, so like I said, I came in, when I first started at Emerson, I was an acting major, like strictly acting. And then that transition, because I really gravitated towards one of our teachers who oversaw theater education. And I was like, I want to learn after her. Like, I also really like the classes that they have to offer, as opposed to, like, I love the acting classes, but I gravitated towards the theater education classes more. And so I ended up switching my major, but still had a concentration in acting. So I was still able to take acting classes. It just wasn't my main focus. And so after graduating, I was like, okay, I guess we're taking these talents to Los Angeles, California. But that was like after 6 months of like sleeping on my dad's couch and, trying to figure out my life. And everything kind of just fell into my lap. Like, super grateful, super fortunate for it. I had I still do have a great relationship with everyone at Emerson, like the faculty. And so when they offered the job at the Emerson LA campus, I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take it. Like, need a job. And it was with the understanding of, until you find something that you actually want to do, this is yours, which is incredible. Like not many people get that opportunity. And so I was there doing alumni relations for a little bit, well, the assistant to the director of alumni relations for a little bit. And then I applied for the video curation fellowship at BuzzFeed, which is pretty much finding viral videos or kind of translating the videos that BuzzFeed does and turning them into BuzzFeed.com articles. So just like narrating videos pretty much. Ended up getting it, did really well there. And then that position ended up becoming full-time for a little bit. And then while I was doing that, they were looking for someone to start social channels for some of the development partners. So BuzzFeed Ladylike, BuzzFeed Unsolved, BuzzFeed Try Guys, like all those groups of people.
Yeah.
And so they were like, Nyla, you should do it because, you know, you're Nyla and you're very spunky and you're very outspoken and you're very outgoing. And we think this would be a great fit for you. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, social media to me is very simple. It's just being yourself on social media. And that's that. I also had like no Photoshop experience. I had no experience whatsoever. And I was just like, I was open to the idea. And I also like didn't want to get fired. It's like, okay, I'll try it.
It's not fun, trust me.
Exactly. I mean, you never know, you know? And so I started off with BuzzFeed Ladylike and, you know, created their Instagram. They didn't have an Instagram. They had a very kind of inconsistent Facebook page. And a lot of the things that I created, I mean, it ranged from like behind the scenes of just getting short videos of them, you know, while they're shooting and posting it on their Instagram, or creating memes and like taking stills of faces that they make in videos and literally thinking about things that are going on in my life and applying it to that face. And it took off and it did really well. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. And so that transitioned into, you know, kind of more of a prominent, solidified role. And I was no longer, you know, editing articles or writing articles as much, but really focusing on the strategy and the marketing of the social platforms that I was running. And so I was doing that at BuzzFeed for about a year. And then Shondaland was like, hey, we have this really great opportunity that we think you would be, you know, that you'd be perfect for. And I was like, okay, well, what is it? And they were like, Shonda's looking for someone to run her social media. I was like, yes. Sounds like a really great opportunity.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up joining Shondaland, and now I'm there running Shonda's social media and just making sure that she feels connected with her audience feels connected with her, making sure that, you know, her brand is really clear on social media, and just making sure that people understand specifically, like during, I mean, these times have always been happening, but now that they're prominent and on everyone's news screens because there's a pandemic happening, making sure that we are taking a stand and people know where, like, what she stands for is super important to me and her. And then I'm also running the By Shondaland, her website, social media, and Twitter and Facebook, and kind of doing the same thing, working with outside brands and partnerships, overseeing, you know, we have podcasts now, making sure that the podcasts are getting as much promotion as possible, making sure that people are listening to those. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah. So Amaani, coming from, you know, one of the first travel bloggers, you know, straight from AOL, there's a lot of firsts, I'll say, on your resume. And, you know, I feel like everything happened kind of super fast. How was that transition for you? Were you able to keep up? Do you feel like you're still a little bit lost, or do you feel like you were able to see kind of things happening in, you know, as they were happening, and able to keep up that way?
Well, are you asking, was it, you know, keeping up with social media trends? Is that where?
Yeah. Well, trends and, you know, the various apps and using it also as a career woman. Are you able to use it to help your career, to tell your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, interestingly, it's been one of those constants for me. It's, you know, as soon as I was pretty much old enough to be out there and working, I had some sort of tie to social media when, like I said, people really didn't know what it was. There were things called news groups, and, you know, there were just, there wasn't a lot of content out there. It was just this there was just tumbleweed rolling around when I joined. And, now I sometimes feel a little okay boomer, like, you kids get off my lawn, because I'm not really interested in like TikTok and all that stuff. But I think you have to be familiar with all of these platforms to have the right to not like them. So I have to now I've taken these skills and sort of parlayed those into military journalism and social media. So I have written for the Department of Defense. I've written for the Secretary of the Air Force, and doing organizational social media is a little different than the stream of consciousness that I have on my own page. So if I have a bad day and a picture, a meme about a cat makes me feel better, I'm going to post that, But when you're working for a 2-star general, or the Secretary of Defense, you have to be a little bit more methodical about the type of content you're posting, and how that is going to be digested and perceived by the audience. We say in our business, we've got 2 thumb scrolls, and that is how we measure the attention span of the modern reader. You've got 2 thumb scrolls roughly to keep their attention and draw them in, and then make them feel connected. At the end of the day, you want to connect to your audience, but you have to know who your audience is and what that end result is supposed to look like for you to be able to do that. So I think you guys know, you're experts at this yourself, but what you like, what resonates with you. And it's not incredibly different from a purely reactive and human standpoint. The only thing that really changes is the type of content. So it's whatever industry or field you're in, that's the thing. And everybody's a brand. Shonda's a brand.
Yeah.
Amaani's a brand. You don't have to be a company to be a brand, and a lot of people forget that. You are a brand, and you may have thoughts that are random or whatever, but you yourself are still a brand, and people have certain expectations of the type of content that you're going to put up, whether you're an organization or an individual. So
yeah, definitely. We have a viewer here, Bethany, coming in saying hi. Nyla and Amaani. Hi,
Bethany. Yeah. So if things go wrong, you can blame Bethany for bringing
No, but that's so important, because one of our earlier episodes this summer was actually with a current Emerson student who is working on personal branding, because he's like, more Black people specifically need to understand that we are our own brands, and our social media at this point has to always be pushing and promoting our brand, particularly as it takes over our careers. It's like, I, as a model, will oftentimes either miss out on work because I don't have enough followers, or somebody has more followers, or they have more engagement, or they have, like less men following them. It's all about analytics, and it's all about understanding your audience and who's following you. So yeah, that's definitely a huge part. And I think, Nyla, obviously that's something that you've definitely kind of narrowed down, and that's why you've been able to do so, successfully, because you're able to figure out who's Shonda's audience, how do we market to them, who is BuzzFeed's audience, and so I think that's super important. How do you kind of navigate specifically finding those audiences, Nyla? How would you do, kind of, if somebody was to come to you and be like, I don't know who my audience is, what would you recommend they do?
Well, who are you? Like, who are you? I can't, like, what are your characteristics? Are you fun? Are you serious? What are you into? Are you into books? Are you into modeling? Are you into singing? Are you into music? And also, who do you want your audience to be? I think social media, we can make up whatever we want. People, I think a lot of times with influencers and other people, a lot of people show the good, but they don't necessarily show the bad, but also, and like, so we're in control, And so if you're a bookworm, but you don't want that to be your brand, you want your brand to be you know, who knows what,
Yeah.
you're able to do that because
Yeah.
nobody's ever going to know that, oh, actually, no, this person is really into books and this is not who this person actually is.
Yeah.
I suggest that. I suggest being your most authentic self because
Yes.
eventually it's going to catch up. You're going to get burnt out putting on this persona that's not you. But yeah, it's really about who you are, what are your interests, and who do you want your audience to be? Those are the 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. And then go from there.
Yeah. And Amaani, you write kind of for these other people. So how do you figure out who you want to write for and how you express your voice through them as well?
Well, it's actually interesting. Every day is a little bit of a tightrope because our brand it's pretty rigid. The military, we are expected to be button up, straight shooters, good stewards of taxpayers' money, and we need to win the hearts and minds and the trust, most importantly, of the public. So when there are 2 types of audiences, I think, in not just in social media, but in any media. You've got your choir audience. That's like, my grandmother, someone who just loves me no matter what I would do. I could just put up a picture of me finger painting and she would be so proud, but it's the same way some people feel about the military. They just love veterans. The veterans, the military can do no wrong. So that would be an example of a choir audience. The other audiences are the people who may not be as familiar. So you are trying to familiarize this new audience that might be curious about your brand. And then there are others who, you're out there to try to change their mind. Give us a shot. Maybe we're not what you thought, or, breaking down those prejudices. So, and I have to remember that, I'm speaking on behalf of, a 2-star general, sometimes a 4-star general. So I have got to be extremely careful and judicious about the type of content and anticipate things that could cause a negative reaction, that could inspire trolls. I mean, there's so many things. And then there are various other pitfalls that I encounter every day just on my own page, by virtue of the fact that I'm just, a woman of color out there in the world.
Right.
For the most part, I have a very large and loyal following. Even just, I get letters from strangers all the time saying I make their day. My page is completely public. And I do that on purpose to keep myself accountable. I'm like, if my dad can't read this post, or if General can't see this post, it don't need to be on Facebook. Okay. So I keep myself honest that way. And, but there are trolls out there. I mean, there are people who have, they've called me a racist if I call out racism. You know what I mean? There are some people who, if I explain, hey, this is really not an appropriate narrative or thing to post, people, have very visceral reaction to that sometimes, and they get upset. I've had a few people, I had one person from college that I had to unfriend because she was putting up some stuff. And I think, right now, everybody's emotions are raw because of COVID, because of the election. So it's illuminating a lot of consternation and people's vulnerabilities and insecurities. And, people are either able to have a civil discourse about it or they're not. And for me, some things are not negotiable, racial stuff, sexual discrimination. That's not really negotiable for me. Right. So pineapple on pizza, that's negotiable. We can debate about that, but you know what I mean? So you kind of get used to that other stuff. And I'm sure, Nyla, you've gone through the same thing out there. You're representing Shonda, but you're also representing yourself. And there are going to always be trolls out there, no matter how much good, or fairy dust you guys spread throughout the world and joy you bring to people. There's always going to be somebody who's a naysayer out there. you know.
Yeah, I think that's important too. I was working in social media, but on the retail side, so I was doing for a fashion company.
Right.
And honestly, the trolls are so draining. The
Oh,
security
yes.
people get behind a computer, a phone. So let's talk about self-help. Nyla, what do you do to kind of cleanse your palate, to kind of take a breather and, kill all the trolls?
Burn the sage, right?
Actually,
Yeah.
celery juice every morning.
Yeah.
I really, I think it's like, I think it's interesting because I do think they didn't really affect me as much. And I think that there's been a bigger effect now that I have been working from home. So it's like everything is so heightened right now.
Right.
It's so interesting. I was just talking to one of my homegirls about this, and I was like, when I was at BuzzFeed, yes, I was focused on other people's social media, but I was also like super into mine and making sure that, I was posting consistently and my brand was on point. And, I had followers. I was, my followers were increasing.
Yeah.
But there was like, it started to become this expectation of always people always thought that I was available because I was sharing so much of my life.
Yep.
Right.
And since leaving BuzzFeed, I haven't been I'll post a picture, I'll post a story, but it's really on my own terms. Like when it comes to my personal social media, it's really on my own terms. And I also think because I'm always online all day, by the time the workday is done, I'm burnt. Done.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that since I haven't been as focused on mine, my followers have been decreasing. And between everyone watching and the three of us, it has been a blessing. No interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
And responsible for people's entertainment and people's lives and their problems. People that I don't know. I just have no interest anymore.
Yeah.
And I think at first I was really hard on myself about it. I was like, no, like this is not okay. And now I'm very much like, actually, no, this is what you want. And that's fine. Like things change, things switch up. And so I've been really practicing just in every day, really being gentle with myself. If I'm online all day, making sure that if I can log off early, I log off and I go take a walk, or I go for a bike ride, or I just go sit outside for an hour and just get sun. Or even if it's like I don't have the space to go take a walk or to take an hour-long break, I put on one of my favorite songs and I just dance like in my living room, like finding small things that's giving me joy. Getting enough sleep, drinking water, standing up because I'm sitting at my dinner table all day, making sure that like I leave my windows open, or my small things have really given me the most gratitude during this time and have really helped push me through this moment. But I do think everything is extremely heightened right now. And so I just encourage people to be as gentle with themselves as possible.
Yeah. What about you, Amaani? What's some of your self-care?
Well, you would never know it from my Facebook page or my Instagram, but I am actually quite the introvert. People are like, BS, you're always surrounded by a bunch of friends. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm low-key dying inside sometimes. I kind of just would rather sit back and read a book. And, I thought at first when COVID started up around, I'd never even heard the word COVID until like January 30th. But when it really became apparent that this telework was going to be a thing for a while, I was like, well, this is a dream come true. I get to cook my breakfast, do a couple of, Zoom calls for work, and I'm in my pajamas. And I tell you, you better watch what you wish for, because even though I'm an introvert and I love breakfast in pajamas, Zoom calls, not so much, present company excluded. But it got to a point where the walls were just starting to close in on me. Yeah. So what I did was I started seeking opportunities to be outdoors, but still be far enough from people, to not catch any germs. So I ended up, I've always been interested in water and maritime things. So I was kayaking a lot. And then one day I said, I'm just going to keep to myself this weekend. And I studied to get my boater's license And now I'm studying to be a master captain. So I drive yachts on
Ah,
the weekend
fun.
now.
Oh.
So it's
Casual, yeah.
I can keep my social distance, but I can
Yeah.
still be out on the water. And it just looks pretty impressive to be out there to people. So I mean, I did my first solo captain mission on Monday. We hit some low tide, so I jostled some of my passengers, but I'm not giving up on it. But I think COVID I've had a lot of people, particularly women, tell me that there was believe it or not, with all the Americans who've died and every horrible thing that's happened, the silver lining to COVID was it helped a lot of people I know discover themselves or discover a new hobby and really reinvent themselves and take the time to focus. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people are going crazy homeschooling their kids as well. I live alone with a cat, and even he can be a bit much, but some people have reevaluated their lives and gone,
Yeah.
I always wanted to study this or read about that, or if you can't go anywhere, you're kind of forced to do self-assessment and self-care and examine what you really want in life. You're so busy living sometimes that you're not really experiencing life.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's what I kept saying from the jump too, is I was like, I feel like there's a lot of blessings in disguise going on right now. And like I was talking to a lot of friends and they were feeling hopeless. And I was like, okay, but let's find the spin, because honestly, like me and my best friend at the beginning of the year had, our vision board party, and like there was all these things I wanted to do. And it was like all of a sudden it was like, oh, save money, pay off my debts. Okay, quarantine allowed me to do that. I wasn't eating out every single meal, or I wasn't driving to work and being like, oh, just stop and get some, something to eat. And it's like I saved all this money and I stopped eating out, which was another goal. And it's just like there's definitely a silver lining here. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to end, anytime soon. But I think you can keep that mentality, try and keep finding these silver linings, or trying to take it to the next level, and, do that self-care and take those walks and those breathers. That's another thing. The park in front of my house has never had so many people in it. And it's like kind of beautiful, like to hear, like, even though the kids are playing a little bit too close for comfort, to hear them playing is also beautiful. That sound of laughter, and to see kids on scooters and like they're playing, like, it's taking some. It's good, definitely. But let's look into the future. So let's talk about the future of social media. I have no idea what's next. And it's funny because in social media, everybody's like, you got to anticipate what's next. So we had, TikTok is booming right now. Then they were going to ban it. Now it's not banned. What do you guys think is next? Any ideas?
I have some ideas about it. I think we're going to see a merging of like gamers and interactive platforms, things like Twitch. I mean, Twitch is like the next big thing, and we've always had gamers and people who just sit around in their mom's basement and they're pale from lack of sunlight. But now we are very much connected, through games and social media. So in that kind of interaction. So, I mean, to a lot of youngsters, the Generation Z, the Zennials, they call them, Facebook is considered passe, to a lot of them. And I'm like, wait a minute now, not so fast. Because, I like I said, I'm okay with Facebook, but originally I didn't want it at all. I was talked into it by a bunch of Emersonians. And that's how I ended up out there. And I'm like, and then I tried to like get rid of it. My fiance and I had broken up, and I was like, they left me, and now I don't want to be on social media. So I took a week off of social media, and I mean, there was just mushroom clouds in the world. Like, people couldn't believe that I was off of there. And when you look at it, I think for all of us, you think about how many people you truly reach that you will never even know about. It's the numbers are are staggering. And so I think that kind of connectivity is just going to evolve, and it's here to stay. That would be my thing. We're going to see more platforms like TikTok. We've already got Reels on Instagram.
Yeah.
But who knows what's going to happen? I know that our current administration doesn't seem like they're big fans of TikTok, so we don't know what the fate of that is going to be. But I think that type of communication and what I call ephemeral content, it's where you just posting something up and it's gone in 24 hours. The FOMO culture is real, the fear of missing out. So those things that are just a blip for a day, we're going to see more like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think because it's looking like this pandemic is never ending.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to change. Not even change. I think it's going to catapult the trajectory of social media. So I think it's definitely going to become more interactive. Anything that you can, like, any way you can connect with someone, I think it's obviously going to be like a bestseller. It's going to hit. It's going to do really well. I think Instagram. I really think that Instagram is going to start making short form content, like short form movies and content, just because the way that they're going.
Yeah.
Some might say that they're taking other social media platforms' ideas. I think one could argue that, but I think that they're also they're putting their own spin on it, and they're making it better. I mean, with stories, with reels, and with, posting, and then comments, and now you can call people, and you can, it's just with the filters, like all of these different social media platforms are being found on one thing. And so I really think the only
shop.
Literally. And the only way that they can go, and they're doing so many, all these businesses have Instagrams, because they're always to their websites. So they can only go up from here. But I do think the more interactive, the better. And I think that's what a lot of media companies are focusing on right now.
Definitely.
So
we have a comment. Marlene is saying, wow, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it really is. I feel like if you had asked somebody 20 years ago, they never would have anticipated we're here, where, we could live on the opposite side of the country of our parents and talk to them visually every single day. It's just amazing. And who knows, it's just getting better and better. So time will tell. But we'll wrap this up. And for anybody who's interested in reaching out to our lovely guests, so you can reach Nyla on Instagram at Nyla Wissa, but she's not obligated to entertain you.
I didn't feel like that.
No, but honestly, give her a follow. Keep in touch. And then Amaani is here at Mani and Harper. Harper is her cat. So you can definitely check those two out.
The roommate who doesn't pay any rent. That's Harper. So.
Those darn animals.
I have one too, Amaani. I get it. Trust me. Him and I, we've been going at it. Like, I'm like, is this my boyfriend? What is happening right now?
I know my dog is like my shadow now, and if I leave for an hour, it's the end of the world.
It's like the entitlement. Like
I used to be going for 10 hours. What's wrong?
I know.
7 a.m. he'll wake me up because he wants food. 5 p.m. he'll start following me around because he wants food. I'm like, you don't pay bills. Let's be clear.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. This was truly a fun little chat, a good way to end our summer lives. I hope you guys continue to stay safe, keep taking care of yourselves, stay healthy, and keep in touch.
Same to you, Charbel. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Charbel. And great to meet you. I will be following both of you on social media. So.
I'll follow you back.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, I'll follow. And Bethany says, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bethany. Love you. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful rest of your year.
Thank you. All right. Like I said, super fun. Thank you guys for watching, for tuning in. I'll throw those handles back up one more time. Nyla is here at Nyla Wissa. And then Amaani is Mani and Harper. So definitely give them a follow. If you'd like to follow me, mine is The Charbel. Just put my name and you probably find me. There's not too many of us out there. But thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in catching up on any missed episodes, all episodes are available on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. Along with this episode will be immediately available for watching on the Facebook, and then it will be available tomorrow on the YouTube. You can just search EBONI Alumni Association and you will find us. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break, but we will be back mid-September with some new guests, different fall vibes. We'll see how we are progressing with the pandemic and everything into this future as we finish out the rest of the year. But thank you so much. If you're interested in being a guest later in the fall or even next year, give us a not a call, but an email at ebonyalumnila@gmail.com with a pitch. What would you like to chat with us about? What would you like to present? And we're open to any and all ideas. Thank you so much for watching. It's been an honor, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.